Good day everyone. We are the Group 8 and we are reporting Chapter 9, Forecasting, a very important management tool. Learning objectives. So first, to understand the fundamentals of business forecasting. So, aron atong masabtan kung unsa ka importante o unsa ka kinahanglanon ang forecast sa negosyo. Next, to understand the different uses of forecast. So, aron atong masabtan ang lain-laing paggamit sa forecast. Next, to understand the different types and times period of forecast. Aron atong masabtan ang lain-laing klase o time period sa forecast. Next, to be able to revenue forecast. So, next learning objectives is to be able to revenue forecast. So, to be able na makapangandam sa mga estimated revenue. When we say revenue, this is the income or kita nato sa negosyo. So, the last learning objectives in our topic, to be able to prepare wage forecast and wage schedules. So, to be able na makapangandam sa wage forecast or makapangandam sa estimated na sweldo o mga schedules sa sweldo. So, unsa ang forecast? Para sa inyo, unsa ang forecast? So, mo siya ang meaning sa forecast. Forecast means to predict or to estimate of future trend or event. Ang forecast, nakatabang niya sa pag-assist or naghatag og suporta sa mga managers in the short-term goals operation sa ilang negosyo. So, when we say short-term operations, these are the short-term goal are less than 1 year. So, bisan unsa nga financial document, forecast is the most important management tool for planning the specifics of the next week operations. Forecast look to the future and assist management in the detailed planning of operations for the next week or month. So, forecast look to the future kung unsay mga angay buhaton o kung unsay angay mga plano sa para sunod semana or sunod bulan sa negosyo. So, I have said earlier, forecast assists the manager sa pagplano sa detalye sa operation sa negosyo para sunod semana or para sunod bulan. So, forecasting fundamentals. So, nganong importante kayo ang forecasting? So, forecasts are the financial documents that update the operation budget, whereas the operating budget is a permanent financial plan for a year. The forecast is flexible and provides a way to make changes to the budget to reflect current trends and economic or market conditions. So, unsay pasabot? Nganong kailangan kaayo ang forecasting sa negosyo or sa mga kumpanya or businesses? So, nganong ang forecasting is kailangan kayo sa negosyo? So, ang forecast are financial documents nga gigamit aron mapadayon ang budget sa operation hangtod karon. So, when we say budget operations, mao ni siya ang pag-estimate sa income or kita o expenses or gasto sa usa ka kumpanya for one or more future periods. So, ang operating budget kay usa ka fixed financial plan sulod sa usa ka tuig. So, I have said earlier na ang operating budget is pag-estimate or pag-predict sa income or revenues o gasto or expenses sa usa ka kumpanya. So, formulated ni ang operating budget sa management team sa wala pa sa pagsugod sa tuig. So, ensures expected activity for the entire year. Whereas the forecast is flexible o provide sa pamaagi aron na ikabag-uhan sa budget based sa current trends or kasamtangang uso karon og economic or market conditions. So, forecasting involves using current informations and combining this information with established ratios and formulas to estimate or project future business levels and operations. So, involved diri ang paggamit sa mga present information ug sa usa ka negosyo ug i-combine ang mga information uban sa mga established ratios and formulas para ma-estimate or aron masukod ang mga future businesses levels and operations. Last year, budget and forecast. There is a logical progression for the preparation of financial documents used as management tools in operating a business. So, two aspects are involved. The first is historical in nature, and the second is forward-looking and looks to the future. So, all financial documents used in the planning of businesses operations start with the last year actual financial performance. So naay mga logical progressions are logical na pag-uswag for the preparations of financial documents used as management tools in operating a business. So there are two aspects. First is historical in nature. I-describe kung unsa klase imong negosyo o unsay goal sa imong negosyo. And second is galantaw sa mga possible sa future. Ang tanan financial document is nag-start gid siya sa pagplano sa last year. So if last year financial results are good, a business will try to continue the strategies and plans that produce those successful financial results. So if last year's financial results are not good, then a business will identify changes and improvements that will produce the intended financial results. So in both situations, the financial budget will lay out the details for the next year's operations, including the expected financial result. So, sa akong nasabtan, diri, so kung ang last year nga budget or last year nga financial result is tsada ang kalabasan or tsada ang result, then magtry sila nga i-continue ang ilang strategies or plans sa ilang negosyo para masuccessful ang ilang financial result. So, i-maintain na lang nila kung unsa ang ilang mga plano or strategies para masuccessful ilang financial result. So, kung ang last year pod is dili tsada ang result sa financial, then ila din i-identify kung unsay mga angay bag-ohon or angay i-improve aron ang financial result is ma-successful. So, ana na lang.
Good day everyone, I am Mary Sincere Fermina. So let me continue the topic. Types and uses of forecast. Types and uses of forecast. Forecasting relationships with last year and the budget. As we have discussed throughout the book, the main uses of numbers and financial reports mao ang pasukod sa financial performance o pag-provide og usa ka management tool sa pagpadagan sa usa ka business. The profit and loss or P&L statement is the main financial report used to measure financial performance, while the balance sheet and statement of cash flows also provide useful financial information for measuring financial performance. Forecasting mainly involves financial activity that is included in the P&L. Therefore, the P&L will be the focus of forecasting in this chapter. One exception is the importance to owners and managers of forecasting the required cash flow to maintain daily operations. Cash flow forecasting is generally performed by the accounting office. So, ang forecasting daw is mainly involved sa financial activity that is included in the P&L. Busa, the P&L will be the focus of forecasting in this chapter. One exception is the importance to owners and managers of forecasting the required cash flow to maintain daily operations. Cash flow forecasting is generally performed by the accounting office. Ang forecasting relationship with last year's actual results and the budget for the current year can be illustrated with the following findings. The forecasting relationship with last year's actual results and the budget for the current year can be illustrated with the following timeline. Number 1. Last year's actual results will be shown by each week. Number 2. Management will determine what are realistic improvements or achievable growth objectives for next year. Number 3. Management and accounting will prepare the formal operating budget, a detailed financial plan by day, week, month, and year outlining the financial goals for the next year. So ang management ug accounting daw will prepare the formal operating budget, usa ka detailed financial plan sa adlaw, semana, bulan ug tuig nga mag-outline sa financial goals alang sa sunod nga tuig. Number 4. The final operating budget will be approved for the next year, containing a specific monthly or accounting period financial plans, including dollar amounts, percentage, and statistics. This budget is approved and distributed to all departments and will be used for the entire year. So ang final operating budget daw will be approved for the next year, containing a specific monthly or accounting period financial plans, including dollar amounts, percentage, and statistics. Kini nga budget giaprubahan og i-distribute sa tanang departments o gamiton sa tibuok tuig. Number 5. Before the beginning of a month or accounting period, the accounting office will provide a weekly breakout of the budget for each department. So, sa dili pa daw magsugod ang usa ka bulan o accounting period, ang accounting office mag-provide sa weekly breakout of the budget for each department daw. Next is, each department will then review the budget for the next week. If there are no meaningful changes, the department will use the weekly budget as its weekly forecast and will plan the next week, day by day, according to the budget numbers. Ang matag department daw will then review the budget for the next week. Kung walay meaningful changes, gamiton sa department ang weekly budget as its weekly forecast ug magplano sa sunod semana, day by day, according sa mga numbers sa budget. 7. If there are meaningful changes, either increases and decreases, the department managers will update the budget by making changes that reflect more accurately the current business environment. The changes that update the budget become the weekly forecast.
Weekly, monthly, quarterly, and long-term forecast. First is the weekly forecast. It provides the plans and details of operations for each shift and day of the week. Daily revenue reports and daily labor productivity reports are distributed the following day. These are management with the detailed results sa mga previous day and week, to date operating results. So kini siya gina-includes ang efforts o pagsisikap para i-maximize ang mga kita and also pagsisikap pod para bawasan ang mga gastos adlaw-adlaw. The shift of line managers have the direct responsibilities to run their departments according to the most recent forecast. So they, together with their employees, to make the numbers happen. Therefore, gaspend gid sila og daghan na oras for reviewing, analyzing, and changing, and also forecasting their operations. So ang essential part gid sa weekly forecast is ang pagpuna ug ang pagsuri sa mga resulta sa mga nagdaang linggo. Companies have weekly forms that are useful for capturing the actual forecast, budget, and last year's information. Recent technology developments provide a vast amount of detailed information almost instantaneously for managers to reuse. The strongest operations managers in any business will possess both operating skills and financial knowledge, so they can make the best use of the daily and weekly information. Weekly reports are primarily internal management reports. They provide information that measures financial performance, but their main use is a management tool. Next is monthly forecast. Our accounting period reports are used equally as a management tool and to measure financial performance. These are formal reports that are distributed inside and outside the company to interested stakeholders. So they provide the actual financial reports of operations and compare them to the budget and to last year. Rarely is a forecast included on a formal P&L statement. Critics are also prepared for the formal P&L, and operations managers and accounting managers use the weekly critics to explain the operations for the month. Operations managers are expected to prepare these critics and para suriin kauban ng ilang direct manager are in the hospitality industry with their executive committee member. Then the critics are presented to and discussed with the general manager. So the final step is usually involves providing this information to the regional or corporate office and to the appropriate owners. Next is quarterly forecast. Primarily used to plan and project the financial performance for the next 1 or 2 quarters. Senior management as well as owners are interested na makita og masuri kung unsa na antas ang ilang negosyo that can be expected in the near future. Whereas operations managers along with the accounting department can prepare this longer-term forecast. So they will not spend as much time on quarterly forecast as they will on daily and weekly forecast. And lastly, the final forecast are the long-term forecasts, which are not as detailed as weekly and quarterly forecasts, but are intended to give the general direction of expected business operations in the future. These long-term forecasts are more general in nature and will probably be prepared by the accounting office. They will include sales and profit projections and average rate, occupancy, and RevPAR projections. Companies can include different time periods in their long-term forecast. Marriott looks at the 6 accounting periods. 4 Seasons includes an end-of-year forecast that combines the current year-to-date actual performance with the forecast to the end of the year so that management will always have an idea of how the end-of-year actual forecast performs compares to the last year's actual results and the current year's budget. So, importante gid ni siya sa mga owner sa pagplan for cash inflow or outflow.
Revenue forecasting. Ang revenue forecasting ay ang pagtataya ng kita sa silid. Ay ang panimulang punto para sa pag-maximize ng lahat ng kita ng hotel at pagliit ng lahat ng gasto sa hotel. Ito ang dalawang pinakamahalagang layunin sa pananalapi para sa anumang operasyon. Tagapamahala at pagtukoy sa mga sanhi ng pagtaas o pagbaba sa aktwal na antas ng negosyo. Pag-unawa sa mga ratio ng pananalapi at mga formula na ginagamit sa pagtataya ng kita. At paghahanda ng tumpak at pakinabang ng mga hula ay mahalaga sa tagumpay ng anumang departamento o negosyo. Una, kabuoang mga kwartong ibinebenta o inuokupahan para sa bawat araw. Pangalawa, bilang ng mga bisita bawat kwarto. Tatlo, bilang ng mga silid ng pangkat na inuokupahan. Pagkatapos ay tinitingnan ng manager ang linggohang hula sa bangket upang matukoy kung anong porsyento o bilang ng mga bisita ang dadalo sa mga meal function na ibinibigay ng mga handaan. Maapektuhan nito ang bilang ng mga bisitang available na kumakain sa restaurant. Upang hulaan ang mga kita ng banquet, ginagamit ng manager ng banquet ang mga garantisadong bilang ng customer pati na rin ang bilang ng mga silid ng grupo sa hotel. Kasama sa forecast ng kita ang aktual na bilang ng mga kwartong kinuha ng isang grupo at sinasabi nito sa banquet manager kung matutugunan ng meal function ang bilang ng mga customer na ginagarantiyahan sa kontrata. Ilang iba pang departamento ng kita ang maghuhula ng kanilang mga kita batay sa mga benta ng kwarto. Kabilang dito ang mga departamento ng gift shop, telepono at libangan bukod sa iba pa. Nagagamit ng formula batay sa mga pagtataya ng kita sa kwarto. Halimbawa, ang mga departamentong ito ay maaring gumamit ng mga benta sa bawat inuokupahang silid upang hulaan ang mga benta ng kanilang departamento. Ang gift shop ay magkakaroon ng makasaysayang average na benta sa bawat inuokupahang kwarto. Gagamitin ng mga manager ang halagang ito at i-multiply ito sa bilang ng mga inuokupahang kwarto para sa araw o linggo upang mabuo ang kanilang mga hula.
The key to forecasting. We will emphasize one, forecasting is based on volume or business levels. Each revenue department applies formula based on rooms sold or hotel guests to calculate and forecast each department's revenues. Examples of formulas used include the following: rooms occupied plus average sales per room equals department sales. Number 2, rooms occupied plus average guests per room equals total hotel guests. Number 3, total hotel guests plus average check per guest equals department sales. Total hotel guests minus banquet guests average check per guest equals department sales. Any of these formulas can be used to calculate and forecast the revenue for a specific department. Notice that these formulas required an expected volume level stated as total rooms occupied or total guests. The formula for revenue is rate volume. Room revenue forecasting applies this formula with current actual information. Determine the next week forecast. Step and process of preparing weekly room revenue forecast begin with forecasting volume levels and then apply an average rate to calculate or forecast total room revenues. Historical average are used to provide a starting point for forecasting. The average room sold for each day of the week for room revenues and average customer per day and meal period for restaurant. Current trends to a market condition then applied to these averages. If a hotel has been busier than usual for the last several weeks, the revenue forecast prepared will probably be higher than historical averages. If a hotel has been slower during the previous week, the historical number will be adjusted downward. When the weekly forecast paired in each of these examples, managers will add or delete 5, 10, 20, or any other numbers of rooms from the historical averages to reflect current demand and market conditions. Number 3. Often forecast and preferred for each market segment and then added together to get the total room revenue forecast. For example, transit rooms sold are forecasted based on information from Yield Management Program, whereas group rooms sold are forecasted best group or room blocks and actual up rooms held in the room block. The last step in determining the average rate to apply to each room sold or average check to apply to each historical to check to apply to each customer. Historical room rates and average checks are the starting point and the adjustments are made based on any room increases or menu price increases. This process can also be done by market segment or mile period. The more detailed and forecasting of rooms sold or average rates, the more accurate and forecast should be forecasting. Total rooms sold for the week using one average rate for the week will give a general forecast. Forecasting volumes are average rates by market segments and mile period.
Wage forecasting and scheduling. Managing and controlling wage costs are the biggest responsibility of hospitality managers in maintaining productivities and profit margins. Usa sa mga pinakadako nga responsibility sa hospitality managers is ang pag-manage o pag-control sa paggasto sa sweldo or usa sa mga dako nga responsibility sa hospitality managers sa pag-maintain sa mga productivities o profit margins is ang pag-manage o pag-control sa sweldo. Wages are the largest expense of each revenue department in hospitality operations. The only exception is retail, where cost of goods sold is generally higher. Total wage cost in a full-service hotel will be in the 30% to 35% range. So, I have said earlier, ang sweldo is ang pinakadako nga expenses or gasto sa revenue department in hospitality operations. Second, hourly wages are variable, and therefore hourly wage schedules can be prepared and adjusted based on the volume levels of current revenue forecast. Number 3. Each wage dollar produces an associated benefit cost, generally in the 25% to 40% range. Controlling wage expenses also results in controlling benefit expenses. Managers in revenue departments spend a great deal of time reviewing revenue forecasts and then preparing wage schedules that appropriately reflect volume levels. This is the primary way that labor productivities and profit margins are maintained. Labor standards, forecasting, and ratios. Many ratios and forecasts can be used in preparing wage schedules that maintain expected productivities. The primary methods used in a hotel relate to the rooms department and food and beverage departments. So these are the formulas. The rooms department total labor hours per occupied room is equal to total department labor hours by total occupied rooms. Wage cost per occupied room is equal to total department wage cost in dollars by total occupied rooms. Wage cost percentage is equal to total department wage cost in dollars by total department revenues. So,
housekeepers' labor hours based on rooms clean per 8-hour shift, or numbers of housekeeper room credits per shift. Front desk clerk labor hours based on check-ins per 8-hour shift, and front desk cashier labor hours based on checkouts per 8-hour shift. Restaurant departments. Total labor hours per cover or customer count is equal to total department labor hours by total covers or customer counts, which cost per cover or customer count is equal to total department which cost in dollars by total department revenue, wage cost percentage is equal to total department wage cost in dollars by total department revenue. So, server labor hour based on number of table per chef or number of covers or customer per chef. These ratios are applied to the forecast volumes that produce weekly revenue forecasts for both the rooms department and all food and beverage department. That's all, and thank you.